today's tip I want to talk to you guys about is feeding your mind. You have to feed your mind. And how do you feed your mind? You feed your mind through the things that you put in your mind, the books you read, the music you listen to, the TV shows you watch, the conversations that you have. Whatever you feed your mind, that's what's going to come out of your mouth. So you have to see the correlation between what I put in my mind is what's going to come out of my mouth. And so last year, after getting settled into my new place, I moved recently. I decided that I'm a lover of books and I love to read. I love to learn because I feel that when you learn, you expand. And so I said that, I was going to select, I have an array of books because I collect books, but I said that I was going to select 12 books that I was going to read, intentionally read at least 12 books that I was going to read in the year of 2019. Because I wanted to reshape my mind. And these 12 books were strategically chosen because there were some areas in my life that I wanted to become stronger. I wanted to develop in. I wanted to deepen my faith in. And so when you feed your mind, I want you to consider what books you're going to read this year. So here are my books that I've selected for this year. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for being here today. This is your first Rise and Win tip of the year. I'll be here every Monday, inspiring, encouraging you guys with tips to help you create a life that you look forward to waking up to, a life that gives your vision full expression in your life. So welcome to today's broadcast. So I'm talking about feeding your mind, and I was just sharing one of the ways that God instructed me to feed my mind for 2019, and that was through read. So I want to talk about some of the books that I chose today and inspire you to get your 12 books for this year to read, to inspire you, to shift your perspective, to deepen your faith, to encourage your heart, and to increase your knowledge. Because when you have knowledge, you can operate more in wisdom. God will show you what to do with that knowledge. But one of the areas in my life that I'm always proud of is my heart of gratitude. And so this year I'll be reading Joyce Meyer's book, The Power of Being Thankful. And it's a devotional. I love devotionals. And so this one is all year round, and it just gives you daily things that you can be thankful about. The power of praise and prayer. It just talks about things that will strengthen your muscle of gratitude. And I firmly believe that when you express gratitude about the things that God has given you or blessed you with, you are opening yourself to receive more. So the next book that I decided to read, and I bought this book maybe 10 years ago or when it first came out, but this book is called The Bond. This book is about 3 young men who learn to forgive and reconnect with their fathers. And this book is very near and dear to my heart because these young men, they represent my grandson. They represent what a Black man can become in this society through the power of forgiveness, through the power of faith, through the power of steadfastness. And so I selected this book off of my shelf because I want to do more with my grandson, cultivating him as a young African-American man in today's society. I want to strengthen him. And I felt that I could learn something from these 3 men who not only reconnected to their fathers with forgiveness, but they also became prominent men in their community, which is my goal for my grandson. Now, the next book that I chose, and I don't have all 12 here because one is in my purse that I'm reading now, but this book is by an author, Brooke Castillo. And I chose this book because as a coach, you pour out so much as a speaker, as a writer, as an intuitive or prophetess. You pour out so much. And sometimes the very basic things that you teach your clients to do, to consider, sometimes you can forget. And so I chose this book, Self-Coaching One-on-One, Use Your Mind, Don't Let It Use You, to keep my mind sharp. when I'm facing dilemmas and I'm facing situations that I really feel like I don't know how to handle, which I know I have the answer, but sometimes with all this information, it's hard to retrieve it. This book will help me by giving me the questions, the guidance that I need to coach myself. So that's why I chose this book. Now, these next 3 books are by a very powerful coach that I follow intensely. Her name is Valerie Burton, and I encourage you to read her stuff. I encourage you to subscribe to her blog. I encourage you to follow Valerie. She is a woman of faith. She knows what she's talking about. She is a coach of excellence. And whenever I read her material or listen to her videos or read her blog, I always find value. And so last year I purchased this power pack, Successful Women Speak Differently, because it takes courage, confidence, and influence. It's 9 habits that will build these things in me. And as I move more up to where God is calling me to be, I need this type of tool to help me to speak differently. The next book is Successful Women Think Differently. In order for you to transform your life, you got to have a different mindset. And so Valerie, she digs in deep in this book, talking about the different mindsets, how to shift your mindsets that you need to release, and mindsets that you need to adapt. Welcome, Shamika. Thank you for being here. This is our first Rise and Win tip of the year, where I am offering you tips on how to maximize your life and give voice to your vision. And today I'm talking about feeding your mind. And I'm talking about how I selected 12 books that I will be reading this year, minimum of 12, that I will be reading this year to help me be cultivated and reshape my mind in certain areas. And so I'm on book, let's see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is book 6 that I'm sharing today that I'll be reading, Happy Women Live Better. And this is by a very wonderful young lady who I follow, a business coach, lifestyle coach, Valerie Burton. And I'm looking forward to this book because I do want to be happier. Many of you know that I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer a few years back. And I think that goes back to a heart deferred, hope deferred makes the heart sick, and that can, move into your body. And so I'm looking for ways to trigger more happiness in my life with where I am. So I'll be reading that book. Many of you know that I am married. And so for married couples out there, we face some challenges that only prayer can help us work through. And so because I want God to get the glory out of my marriage, I am going to be reading this book by Stormy Oartonsson. Sorry if I jacked up her name, but The Power of Prayer to Change Your Marriage. Sometimes, when we face things in our marriage, we don't know what to pray. We don't know how to interpret certain situations, and we need wise counsel to help us be able to pray through some things, use the word of God to push through, pull through, and persevere. And so I want to become more strategic in my prayers for not only my husband, but for my marriage. And so that's why I chose that book. And then I chose another book that I found, which is called The Husband Project. It's 21 days of loving your man on purpose and with a plan. And when I start reading this book, I solicit every wife to join me. This is a book that can be done with a group of wives where we purposely, love on our men, do special things for our men, just because we want them to feel special. We want them to know that we love them, we value and appreciate them. And so I'm looking forward to this because sometimes as an entrepreneur, being honest and real, I can lack in that area. I'm so focused on what moves me and what drives me to the point where, the meal doesn't get cooked and, it's those drive-by kisses and, hey, see you, I'm out the door, So I want to be more intentional, strategic, and I want to be more, I want to do what I say I'm going to do. So that's operating in integrity. And I didn't forget the fun, and so, last year, many of you, I shared a live where I went to see Gabrielle Union. She came to the library with her new book, We're Going to Need More Wine. And she just shares in this book, her life stories, things that she's experienced in life, the wisdom she gained from it. And from what I saw, just seeing her live and talking with her, she's a very down-to-earth young lady, very real. And so I decided to invest in her and purchase her book. So I'm looking forward to seeing why we're gonna need more wine. I know life can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm just excited to see what she's talking about. And then Glorious by one of my favorite authors, Bernice McFadden. I love her writing. I love her style. I love her creativity. She has a poetic flow to how she writes. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what masterpiece she crafted in that book. And then back to me with some self-improvement. And today I'm talking about, this is a Rise and Win tip, how to feed your mind. And so this year, God has given me to pick 12 books off of my bookcase that I'm going to read, and books, not just reading them, but books that are going to add some value to my life, that's going to help me transform my life into one that I look forward to waking up to. And so another beautiful woman that I love to follow is Brene Brown. She was introduced on Oprah's Soulful Sunday, and I tell you, the gifts of imperfection, we are all imperfect. And sometimes we are so hard on ourselves. And that's me. I surrender. It's me. I'm hard. I expect so much from myself. I run myself sometimes when I'm tired. I need to rest. And so this book is going to help me become stronger in letting go of who I think I'm supposed to be and embracing who I am. And so I'm excited to dig into this book. Some of these books I've already started reading, but I kind of put them off, but I want to be more intentional. And then another author that I love, this is another book by Pastor Joyce Myers, Eat the Cookie, Buy the Shoes. You know, women, y'all know that we can sometimes just be so focused on taking care of business that we forget to love on ourselves. And sometimes it's so hard for us to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this for myself. And if we do it, sometimes we have a little bit of guilt behind it. We feel like, oh, that money could have went somewhere else. But I want to learn how to give myself permission to lighten up, because like I told you earlier, I could be kind of hard on myself. The 12th book that I'm reading that I did not share a picture of, it's upstairs, but it's Trust Without Borders. And when I tell you this 40-day devotional is off the chain, it's about deepening your faith in God and trusting God, being vulnerable with God. I tell you, that is an awesome book. And so I encourage you to feed your mind this year. And I would love to hear in the comments, even if you watch the recording, how you plan to feed your mind. What books do you plan to read this year? What seminars, conventions, women conferences do you plan, business conferences do you plan to attend this year to feed your mind? What conversations are you having this year that's going to feed your mind, feed your faith, feed your dream, feed your vision? I am Rise and Win Coach Cynthia Newell of Dare to Dream. It is my heartfelt intention to serve from my overflow in 2019. I am here to support you. And if you need support with giving voice to your vision, let's connect. Go to my website, www.cynthiasnewell.com, and I want you to sign up for a Rise and Win strategy session so we can see how you can give voice to your vision. I hope you'll join me next week. I'll be here live with our Rise and Win tip 2 of the year. Take care and God bless.